Hey there. When I was growing up in Charleston, South Carolina, there were a number, well, there was a community of Greek immigrants. And I know that because there were a number of Greek restaurants, and I grew to love Greek food. So today, what I'm going to make for you is something I learned a long time ago. It's called Spanakopita. We used to call it Spanakopita, but that was wrong. Spanakopita. And what it is a spinach pie made with phyllo dough. So let me show you what we're going to use. This is a fun thing to make, and it's not difficult, a little bit time consuming, but it's really delicious, and I'm sure you're going to love it. So the first thing you need, of course, is phyllo dough, not phyllo dough, phyllo dough. So I took this out, it comes frozen, and I took it out. It comes in 2 packages like this, and you need all of that. It's 1 pound. So you have to leave it out for about 3 hours, and I've left it out a little bit longer than that, to thaw. So you gotta be patient, plan ahead. You also need to thaw 30-ish ounces of frozen spinach. I say 30-ish because the recipe I use, like I said, it's an old recipe. Don't remember where it came from. But you're supposed to use 3 10-ounce packages. And where I shop, Trader Joe's, it doesn't really come in 10-ounce packages. It comes in 16-ounce bags. So I'm going to use 2 of these. It's going to be a little extra. That'll be 32 ounces, but it's going to be fine. So you need those, the spinach and the phyllo dough. You also need dill, dried dill weed, which is very common in Greek food. And then you need a whole bunch of scallions. And you need feta cheese, another thing that's in a lot of Greek food, and it's so delicious. I love it. Then you're going to need a cup of butter and a half cup of olive oil, which I haven't gotten out yet, just plain olive oil. And you need 3 eggs. That's my 3 eggs in a spoon rest. And salt. And let me check my recipe. I think that's everything. Yes, that's it. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is I need to get the filling made before I get started. You'll see. But first I'm gonna melt my butter, because actually one of these was in the freezer, so it's frozen. So I'm gonna melt it in the microwave, or maybe on the stovetop, I don't know. Melt that, and then I'm going to open the bags of spinach and I'm going to squeeze them out. I'll show you. I have my butter melting on the stove in a medium low heat. I'm going to check it every now and then because I don't want it to brown. Well, let's check it. How's it going? Yeah, it's melting. Not going to rush it. And while it's melting, I'm going to prepare the spinach. So here's my frozen spinach. Now, I don't know if I ever told you, but scissors are so handy in the kitchen. You don't have to have those fancy, expensive scissors that are made to cut through bones. We're vegetarians. We don't need anything that strong. So I'm just going to set that aside and do one at a time. This is one use of scissors to cut through containers, especially plastic containers. And it is thawed, so I'm just going to take out some and squeeze the water out. Put it in the bowl. And I'm going to do this with both of those bags, for both of those bags. Just squeeze the water out. Okay, so I'm going to do those. and then I'll show you what's next. I was just thinking, I'll show you an alternative way. My hands are not that large, and yours aren't either. So maybe this would be a better way. And I've got a bunch sticking to the inside of the bag. I want to get that out too. So what if I just use a spoon and get most of the water out this way? I have done it this way before. I think you're going to end up squeezing it some with your hands anyway, but maybe this will make it go faster. You could put this in a piece of cheesecloth and squeeze it. Ooh, that would be a great way. I hadn't thought of that. I'm hearing the butter. I have a feeling it's melted. Yeah, it's kind of sizzling, and I don't want it to sizzle. So there's a piece. You know what I'm going to do? It's almost melted. I'm going to turn it off and put the lid on, and I bet that'll just finish melting it. And, you know, then we can go on to the next thing. Back to this. All right, how about now? Now I can get a big bunch. Whoops, I just sprayed water on the cabinet, but I don't care. It's kind of cold still, but it's not frozen. Yeah, I think this is a better way to do it. But it's really cold. I'm going to warm my hand, and I'll go ahead and squeeze the rest. So this time, I just put it in the strainer, and I'm squeezing it like crazy. It is cold, so my recommendation is take this out way ahead of time and let it get to be room temperature. Mine's thawed, but it's still cold. So, burr. Okay. I think that's good. All right. So next thing I have to do is set that aside, get my scallions, get some of this spinach off my fingers. I'm going to wash my scallions. So I need the whole bunch. I just wash them. Okay, so, well, I need to get this stuff off. So now I'm going to dry these, and we'll cut them up. I've got my spinach here. Now I'm going to put in 1/3 cup of olive oil. There is kind of a lot of oil in this dish, but it's good. 1/3 cup. Jeez. Okay. And now I'm going to chop up these. Actually, I didn't dry them yet. I'm going to chop them and put them in. We usually slice scallions. Well, first we're going to cut this part off. here we go. And it says to cut about 3 inches into the tops, but you know what? I'm putting a bunch of it in because these are good. I don't want to waste it. Maybe I won't go all the way. That's good enough. Okay, so now I'm going to just do a little extra chopping, like I do, like this. I'm going to go slow because if I go fast, I'm going to shoot bits of onion all over the kitchen, and I don't want to do that. It doesn't have to be, you know, extremely finely chopped. But you want it to be, you know, not big chunks. I think that's good enough. Well, I got one piece right there that just stubbornly clung to the knife. All right, let's put these boys in there. Get this stuff going. In with the spinach and the oil. Okay. Kind of got a mess going here, and I'll have to pick it up off the floor later. Okay, so there's that. Next, we're going to put in the dill, and I need 2 teaspoons of dried dill. Where is my dried dill? For Pete's sake. Here it is. Okay. Yummy. And then we've got half a pound of feta. This is 8 ounces, which is half a pound. And this one's not crumbled. You can get it crumbled already, but this one's not. So I'm just going to crumble it. This is going to be so good. I can't wait to eat it. So these can be used, these can be served as appetizers or as a main dish. They're little pies. As a main dish, you can serve them with a Greek salad would be nice. I'm going to just do something simple. I'm going to probably make mashed potatoes or maybe rice with, you know, long grain and wild rice, something like that. And I'm just gonna have some kind of vegetable, maybe even just broccoli on the side. Fusion, you know. Okay, there's my feta. And then we need eggs. So 3 eggs. Okay, and that's that. I can see we're going to have leftovers. Kind of makes a lot, so you might want to consider halving the recipe. But I'm gonna just make it, and you know, if we need to freeze some of them, that's not a big deal. I think I'm gonna undercook it a little bit when I bake them, just so it'll be easy to reheat leftover, because we're gonna have leftovers. There's only 2 of us. Boy, that looks good. I think I'd like to experiment with using less oil. I didn't remember it had so much oil. At least it's olive oil, which is healthy. All right. There we go. All right, I think that's good enough. Now I'm going to set that aside. Okay, so let's check and see if the butter finished melting. Yes, it did. Okay, so what we're going to do now, believe it or not, we're going to put a 1/2 cup of olive oil in with the butter. Yes, this is an oily dish. It doesn't seem like it, but it is. Okay, so stir that up. Oh, sorry about the camera work there. Okay, bring this over here. And I'm gonna go get a pastry brush and I'll be right back. At this point, I'm going to preheat my oven and make sure my rack is in the right place. Yeah, it's fine. Okay, so 350. Let that heat up. And you're going to need a pastry brush and a damp kitchen towel. And you're gonna need some baking sheets. I've got 2 here, and that should do. Okay, so let's get started. This is the fun part. Okay. So I'm going to open this up. Now these, I need my scissors again. As I showed you before, phyllo dries out fast. And once it's dry, it's no good. So we're going to keep it moist. I got it out of the plastic, and it comes wrapped in another piece of plastic. Lots of plastic. So I'm going to take out 1 sheet at a time. Actually, I think what I'm going to do is just do it like this. Just open it. Take out 1. Oh my gosh. And it's sticking, which is really annoying when that happens. So I'm just going to deal with that later when I'm not showing you how to do this. I'll just put it on the bottom. Okay, going to take out 1. And I'm going to just kind of roll this up. And I'm going to put this down. And I'm going to put my damp paper cloth on top of the roll. Now for this, I'm going to brush it lightly with the butter and oil mixture. Okay, and then I'm gonna fold it in thirds. Oh, and put a little bit of oil between each layer, because that's what gives us our flaky layers. Okay. I don't know, do I need to put it on here? I'll put just a little swipe. Okay, now we're gonna put about a teaspoon to a tablespoon of filling in a corner. Let's do this. Okay, and now watch carefully. We're going to fold it like, whoa, that's almost too much, to make a triangle. And then we're just going to go up. Yeah, I guess I did need to put it on the bottom. And you're going to keep flipping it like this, like this, like this. This is how they fold flags. And this last part, you can, if you want, you can tuck it in there, or you can trim it. I think I'm gonna just fold it and try to squeeze it in there. Tuck it. Maybe I don't want to do it that way. You know what? No. Let's just do it this way. I'll put a little extra oil here and kind of glue it down. Okay, at this point, I'm gonna get rid of that little bit of spinach. I'm gonna paint both sides. And put it down on my baking sheet. Okay? So we're gonna do that with this whole thing. This is the lengthy process I was talking about. Let's do another one. Maybe I'll just fold it like that, put this down, and put this right on top. You got to keep the moisture in that. Okay, so let's do this again. We're going to lightly paint the whole thing. Be careful not to tear it. Fold it in thirds. Oh yeah. Put the oil on all the sides, just a little bit. You don't want it to be dripping with oil. There. Okay, and then don't put too much filling. The recipe says a teaspoon, and I saw that and I thought, well, that's ridiculous. That's not enough, but actually you can do like a teaspoon and a half maybe, but that's about right. Okay, fold it over to make a triangle. And then fold it over, fold it this way, and this way, and this way, go all the way to the end, and then I'm just gonna do that, and then put a little bit of oil on both sides. Put it on the sheet. You want to watch one more? Let's do. One. Okay. Don't leave that exposed for long. Okay. Okay. Ooh. Oops. You have to handle these very gently. They're thinner than paper. Okay, what do we do next? Do you know? Do you remember? Fold it in thirds. So there's a third. We're going to paint this. Fold this over. Paint that. Just lightly. Get about a teaspoon of this. Put it in the corner. Okay. Then fold it over like that. Just stick any of that stuffing back that comes out. Flip it over. Again. Again. Again, 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 and then like that. Okay, and then paint both sides. And don't use any more oil than you have to. And I put it on the baking sheet. Now, you don't have to spread these far apart on the baking sheet because they're not going to rise. There's no yeast in them. So just put them next to each other. I'm going to try to keep them from touching, but it's not a big deal really. So here I go with another one. And make sure this doesn't get wet because it'll mess up if you get it wet. You do need to work fast. See, I got a little drop of water there on that. So that's not good. Ah, don't like that. So since I tore the bottom, I'm going to flip it over so that's inside. I guess it would have been anyway. Okay. I know I said I was just going to show you one more time. Okay. Triangle. Oh, can you see? Well, the oven's done. This is a good thing to make on a chilly day when you kind of want the oven on because it's going to take a while. Anyway, all right, so I'm going to stop with that and you know how to do it. I have my first sheet completed, which is the first package completed, and I have some things I want to point out. First of all, you need to go as light as possible on the oil. It's not about using up all the oil. You got a lot of oil, a cup of butter and a half cup of oil. But the important thing is you don't want these to be these drippy, greasy things like fried. Ugh. So go as light as possible, but still coat the area. You also need to brush very lightly or you're gonna tear them. And if you do tear some, you will. I mean, they stick together because it's really hard to keep them just the right moisture. But that's okay. You can, you know, fold them so that the torn part is on the inside so nobody will ever notice. Anyway, be very careful. Make sure you put the damp towel on top, even though there's plastic. Every time after you take one out, put that damp cloth back on top, even though they're wrapped in plastic. You want to just do the best you can, because if they dry out, they tear. And that ruins the whole thing. Now, another thing I want to say is this recipe says it makes about 30. No, it makes way more than 30. I just made 20 and I used half of the package. So I guess there's 20 sheets in each of the rolls. You know, has 2 rolls. So this must be 20. So that would be 40. I've got this much filling left. So I'm sure I'm gonna have more filling. And I'm thinking maybe I'll make a quiche with the rest of it. And I've got a lot of the butter and oil still, and that's okay, you know, I can cook with them. But there's my uncooked Spanakopita ready to go in the oven. I'm gonna put it in the oven right now. I forgot to tell you, you need to preheat your oven to 350. So I just put them in the oven and I'm gonna bake them for 20 to 30 minutes. I just set my timer for 20 minutes. And now I'm gonna do the same thing with the other half of my phyllo dough. Whew, that was a long process. So, as I mentioned, it's been years since I made this recipe. I didn't remember that the ingredients were really off. And what I mean by that is, for 1 pound of phyllo, you need about half of the filling and half of the butter and oil. So that's what I'm gonna recommend you do. Here's how much of the filling I have left. It's probably a little less than half, but I was putting more than a teaspoonful in each. I was trying to stuff them and use as much as I could. So I really think half of the recipe would work fine. And here's how much butter and oil I have left. As you can see, it's quite a lot. So I'll use that to cook. But I used the whole box of phyllo, and I ended up with 40 pastries. No, that's not right, 39. That's because a couple of them in the last box or the last package were really, you know, they were tearing and sticking to each other. I'm not sure why. I thought I was being careful, but apparently not careful enough. So I used all those pieces, but I ended up with 1 less than I would have if that hadn't happened. So, 1 pound of the phyllo dough. Figure it's gonna make 40. There are 40 sheets in there, I learned. Yeah. And, oh, what I'm gonna do with the rest of the filling is, I mentioned a quiche. I might make a quiche, or I might just get some puff pastry and make, Anna, I'm sure you remember the regular spinach pies I used to make. That was a concoction I made. But I could do something like that with the rest of these and make these larger puff pastry kind of pies. I think that's what I'm gonna do. For now, I think I'm just gonna put them in the freezer until I'm ready to deal with it. As for the oil and butter, I'll put it in the fridge and I'll use it to cook with. Anyway, these are delicious. Here's what they look like. And give yourself plenty of time to do it, but it's worth it.